The moment we've all been waiting for has finally arrived. What happened in South Korea is now being revealed to the world. The United States has officially started taking action. At CPAC, the Center of American Conservative Politics, South Korea's election fraud issue is now being formally discussed. Do you understand the significance of this? This means South Korea's election controversy is no longer just a domestic issue. It has become an international concern, gaining attention from political leaders around the world. What is CPAC and why is it important? Some of you may be hearing about CPAC for the first time. To put it simply, CPAC is the largest and most influential conservative political conference in the United States. 1. The core of American conservative politics. CPAC gathers Republican politicians, conservative policy experts, business leaders, media figures, and even international political figures. Prominent Republican figures like President Donald Trump, Governor Ron DeSantis, and Senator Ted Cruz deliver key speeches that shape the conservative agenda. 2. A platform that sets policy direction. Issues discussed at CPAC often become part of the official Republican agenda, influencing legislative policies and even presidential campaign promises. For example, President Trump's America First policy first gained strong support at CPAC before becoming central to his administration's strategy. 3. CPAC's influence on global politics. The American conservative movement has a strong anti-China stance. If South Korea leans toward a pro-China position, it could strain U.S.-South Korea relations. That's why CPAC also discusses international political issues. The fact that South Korea's election fraud is now on the official agenda means the issue is being taken seriously at an international level. So what does it mean that CPAC is discussing South Korea's election fraud? What are the potential consequences? This is not just some conservative media outlet discussing South Korea's election fraud. The fact that South Korea's election manipulation issue is being discussed at CPAC means that the U.S. is fully aware of the controversy. Why is South Korea's issue being addressed? The U.S. sees Chinese influence in South Korea's politics as a direct threat to the U.S.-South Korea alliance. If China influenced South Korea's elections, the U.S. will not overlook it. Election integrity is crucial in democratic alliances. CPAC addressing this issue suggests the U.S. conservatives may push for deeper investigations into election fraud in South Korea. If South Korea shifts toward a pro-China stance, it could weaken U.S.-South Korea relations. This is why CPAC is stressing stronger ties with South Korean conservatives to counter China's influence. High-profile experts will speak on this issue at CPAC, highlighting its global significance. Michael McCaul, U.S. Senator, a key player in American foreign policy. Fred Flight, national security expert, former CIA analyst. Gordon Chang, renowned expert on Northeast Asia and China's influence. Grant Newsham, retired U.S. Marine Colonel, East Asia military strategist. These figures will discuss election fraud in South Korea, political interference, and North Korea's role in the region. Now let's take a closer look at how the U.S. perceives South Korea's current situation. The U.S. sees South Korea as a nation increasingly falling under China's influence. The Moon Jae-in administration's pro-China policies equals a shift in South Korea's political balance. U.S. conservatives believe that during Moon Jae-in's presidency, South Korea gradually leaned toward China, distancing itself from the U.S. The restriction of THAAD missile development due to Chinese pressure was a major concern. South Korea appeared to prioritize economic ties with China over strengthening its alliance with the U.S. The attempt to impeach Yoon Suk-yeol equals China's effort to regain control over South Korea. Yoon's pushback against China coincided with impeachment efforts, raising suspicions. U.S. conservatives may see this as China influencing South Korean political forces to remove Yoon. The fear that South Korea will weaken the U.S. alliance and become more dependent on China. South Korea is a crucial counterbalance to China in East Asia. If it moves closer to Beijing, U.S. influence weakens. The U.S.-South Korea military alliance could be undermined. The U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy to contain China could be weakened. U.S. regional dominance could decline while South Korea aligns more with China. The fact that CPAC is officially discussing South Korea's election fraud issue sends a strong signal from the U.S. conservative movement. They believe that South Korea's democratic system is being undermined by Chinese influence, and they are now bringing the concern to the international stage. Why are American conservatives taking an interest in South Korean politics? What is driving their involvement? CPAC is the most influential gathering for U.S. conservatives. Trump supporters in particular hold a strong anti-China stance and view China as a major global threat. What does it mean that CPAC is discussing South Korea? It means that American conservatives believe South Korea is gradually falling under Chinese influence, and they see this as a serious geopolitical concern. From the perspective of US conservatives, a pro-China South Korea is unacceptable. South Korea has been a key US ally for decades, and any shift towards China would be seen as a strategic threat. If South Korea's election system has indeed been manipulated, US conservatives could interpret this as proof that China is actively interfering in Korean politics to gain control over the country. By addressing South Korea's election fraud, CPAC is signaling that they no longer see this as just a domestic Korean issue. Instead, they are treating it as an international problem that directly affects the US and its global interests. Be cautious of pro-China political forces in South Korea. Some of your politicians are getting too close to China. The US is watching carefully. China is trying to manipulate South Korea, and the US will not stand by. South Korea must safeguard its political independence. Do not allow China to dictate your future. If South Korea weakens its US alliance and moves towards China, America may intervene. If the South Korean government distances itself from the US in alliance with China, the US will respond with strong measures. CPAC's discussion on South Korea's election is not just about fairness, it's about global power struggles. US conservatives may see this as a clear sign that South Korea is increasingly under China's political influence. With the impeachment attempt against Yoon Suk-yeol, suspicions about potential Chinese influence have only grown stronger. South Korea is a key strategic ally for the US. If China attempts to take control, the US will take action. The issues raised at CPAC could soon become the official stance of major Republican politicians in the US. Now that Trump has returned to the White House, US intervention in South Korea's political landscape will be even stronger. Ultimately, CPAC's discussion of South Korea's election fraud is a strong signal that the US is wary of pro-China forces within South Korea. In conclusion, CPAC's focus on South Korea is not just about election fraud. It is most likely a warning against China's increasing control over South Korea. Now, the key question is how South Korean conservatives will respond to this. The discussions at CPAC could have a profound impact on South Korean politics and its relationship with the US. Finally, I have a request for all of you. Please share this video widely so more people can understand what's really happening. Subscribe now, and I will go into even more detail in future videos. I rarely ask you to share my videos, but this time I'm making an exception. Please spread the word. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video.